Welcome back to Accent Your Beauty, the show that helps you make the most of what you've got or what you don't have. In tonight's case, it's hair, and when you don't have it, you sure do miss it. I'm Jackie Callan. I'm sort of the right-hand girl and co-host to the wonderful Dr. Mark Berkowitz, who is the expert on hair replacement. I'm going to turn it over to him, and he's going to fill you in on everything you wanted to know or maybe didn't know you wanted to know about hair replacement.
So Jackie, there's a lot of false information that's out there on the internet, people telling each other things that just are not true. And so we're going to have a little fun, play a game, and take a look at...
I love games, okay. So in other words, if you put vinegar on your hair, it's not going to grow it back.
It just pickles it.
Another myth. Okay, let's go.
So let's take a look at some slides here.
Okay.
And take a look and see some different information in regards to hair. So by age 50, about 25% of men suffer from some degree of male pattern baldness. True or false?
Oh, I think it's more than that. I don't think that's true. I think it's more than 50%.
Let's take a look. You're correct, that was false.
Okay.
And you're right, it's around 50% of men suffer from some degree of male pattern baldness by age 50.
There you go. I knew it. I see so many bald men, some by choice, that shave, but a lot not by choice.
So it's interesting, now men always want more hair, and some are very comfortable in shaving off their hair. But years ago, when men were going bald, it was actually seen as a sign of a strong man. The men who were bald were the hunters.
And so they were supposed to be more virile or something?
More virile. And so
I don't think that's true.
So women were looking for bald men.
Yul Brynner, back in the day, right? Now it's Vin Diesel or whoever. The Rock.
There you go.
But I like hair, too.
Some men sport it very well either way. So whatever works for them.
Okay,
but let's take a look at another one.
Okay.
Well, our answer's up there.
Oh, false. Okay, so that says, okay, so there. Okay, so 20 million women
have significant hair loss at some point in their lives. So the original one said 5 million, but it's actually 20 million women that have some significant hair loss at some point in their lives.
And I might have thought 5 was true because that sounds like a lot of people, but 20 million women, that's a lot. Where do women get it? They don't get it in the back as much, right?
Yeah, so women, it's much different. Women's hair loss is more diffuse, meaning from front to back throughout. And that's why sometimes a hair transplant's a little trickier on them, and we'll talk more about that in the future, too.
Yeah, because that would be hard if it's a little here and a little there. But I always notice the women that have the darker hair combed back and you can see the bald spots. I always wonder why they didn't fill that in. Sometimes they use that spray. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I'm going to show you some sprays and some fibers later too as well.
Okay.
Let's go to the next question. So the average head contains around 10,000 hair follicles, and your entire body is home to around 100,000 hair follicles.
All right, let me think about that. 100,000, including under your arms, private areas, your legs, your arms, and they're saying that 10% is the hair?
And 10%, so 10,000, you have 10,000 hair follicles.
Right, 10%. It's got to be more than that, because that's where the more hair is, right?
You are doing very well.
Yay.
So the average head contains 100,000 hair follicles.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
And your entire body can be up to 5 million hair follicles.
100,000 didn't sound like a lot to me, so I'm glad see, I'm doing good.
So,
wish I did this good in school.
So most people, when they first come into me, they have actually lost probably around 50% of their hair before they realize that they're losing hair. So 50%, so before they even realize it.
Well, wouldn't you see it like in the shower or on your brush?
So
things like that?
What you see in the shower on your brush, you can lose up to, how many hairs do you think per day, which is normal?
How many? Well, let's see. If you have 100,000, I would say maybe 500 or 1,000.
So this time you're off.
Okay.
It's actually, you can lose up to 100 hairs per day.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah,
okay.
and that's considered
you would
normal.
notice it.
So somebody looking in the drain who's getting upset, what's happening here? Most of the time, it's probably 25 hairs, especially women, long hair, and,
Oh, okay,
and it
so
curls
that's
up.
nothing.
So there's nothing to worry
Okay.
about. But if it's over 100 hairs per day, that's when it's time to take a look and see what's causing it for
Makes
you.
sense.
Let's take a look at the next one. So African Americans have the highest numbers of hair on their head.
Okay.
The
that's-
highest density
okay,
of
the
hair.
Well, that's tough because it does seem like they have, especially when you see afros and they're so dense and they're not combed silky like that's a trick one for me, but I don't think, I'm going to say it's not true.
Let's take a look. You're correct. It's false.
Really?
So actually, Caucasians have the highest numbers of hair on their head, the highest density of hair. But what ends up happening with African American hair is, number one, because of the kink within many of their
Oh,
hair,
it's curlier so it looks fuller.
and because sometimes it can get matted at times, it looks like more hair.
Gotcha.
But they actually have the lowest density with Asian hair in between that.
So would you then say that African American hair doesn't go bald as much as white hair, or
No,
that's not true?
it's not true. Actually, our clients, we see as many African American men as we do.
And Asian, and so it doesn't matter what ethnicity,
That's
you
correct.
lose your hair at the same rate.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
Asians actually have the coarsest hair. So even though it's not the densest overall, meaning the number of hairs combined together in a square centimeter, their hair is thicker as it is.
So, and it's usually straight.
And it's straighter hair.
So it probably looks fuller because it's a thicker hair strand.
That's correct.
Oh, okay, learning something. Okay, what's the next one?
Let's see. Let's take a look. Studies have shown that self-confidence levels, both inside and outside of work, can be affected by hair loss. So the answer is already up.
So that's not true then.
So it's actually, this statement is true, that what ends up
So
happening...
that one's true. Whatever was supposed to
Just
be
to come out,
first
right.
was the false
The
one.
original one said it doesn't affect work.
Oh, well,
But
of course it would.
but
If
it
you're
does.
losing hair, your confidence goes down. You don't feel as good about yourself.
Yeah.
They all need you, Doc. I mean,
So it's interesting, you know, being here in the Motor City, I have had people who work for the big three who come to me for hair transplants. I have had men who have had promotions and have given up their promotions because they would have to take off their hard hat. So this is how
Really?
much hair loss can affect a man.
and that's why you see so many guys wearing baseball caps, bandanas, things like that, because they don't feel good about their hair.
Right. And so, and there are things they can do beyond a hair transplant that we'll talk about later that can help them hold on to their hair and build hair for them as well.
Okay.
All right, let's see if we have the next one up.
And I don't want to know the answer.
You should use a hair dryer until the hair is completely dry.
I know the answer to this one. No, because too much heat with a hair dryer is damaging to the hair. If you should get it just not quite wet, maybe just a little damp, and let it air dry.
That's exactly correct.
Yay, I knew that one.
Yeah. So the whole thing is, number one, hair itself, I'll throw in another question for you. Is it alive or
Hair?
not?
Hair's alive.
Hair is alive. So hair itself is not alive.
It's not?
it's
oh, that's
the,
why you can cut it and it doesn't hurt.
It's the bulb inside,
The
underneath
follicle?
the, right, in the follicle, in the scalp that's alive, and the keratin that is building up from that area, that part, the hair, is actually not alive at all.
So that's why you can cut hair without it hurting and things like that. Whereas if you pull it out, you're hurting
You're
the
pulling.
follicle that's alive, and that has pain there.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Do we have another question? Okay. Hair replacement systems cost less than a hair transplant.
All right, let me think about that. You're talking about like hair club for men and those kinds of things?
Correct. So it's the systems where sometimes it's a taped-on system.
Right.
Sometimes it's a weaved-in system. Sometimes it's a combination of those two.
I'm going to say that it's probably doesn't cost less because you have to keep that up over and over, whereas a transplant you pay once and it lasts.
That is correct. So if you look over 5 years' time, the cost for these hair systems is much more than a hair transplant.
Okay.
It costs on average around $300 to $500 a month to maintain these systems. And so these hair systems can cost $300 to $500, so it'd be around $3,600 plus per year for these hair systems.
And how long does a system usually last?
So many men will have more than one that they will use, and they can get 3 to 5 years out of them before they're changing them, but they usually will blend them with their hair, so if their hair color changes, men will change it from there too, and same thing for women with these systems.
And then a transplant, how long does that traditionally last?
So
a good one.
So a hair transplant, that once you move that hair will live. So the hair gets moved usually from the back of the head to the front or the crown area. That hair is destined to continue to grow. When we do a hair transplant, approximately 95% of the hair that we move will grow, and it will continue to grow for a lifetime. Now, people may lose some of the surrounding hair that we've transplanted around at a later time just due to age, as if they would have even without the hair transplant. So sometimes people will see thinning in an area where they've had a hair transplant, but that's not the hair transplant hair. That's the other surrounding hair that's there.
Well, that's interesting, because I think a lot of men look in the mirror after a few years and think, wow, do I need another one? I'm losing it. But you're not losing it, the transplanted hair, you're losing surrounding hair.
That's correct.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
See, there's so much to learn. I hope men are listening and getting educated. So is there another true and false?
So I don't know, do we have one more question, or I think we do? Let's see. Okay. This is a good one. Hair loss usually comes from the mother's father or your grandfather.
Well, my mother's father is my grandfather, so unless it's the grandfather on the other side.
That could be.
But either way, I really don't know that, so I'm just going to guess that that's probably not true.
So most people think that it's always your mother's father's fault, your grandfather on your mother's side.
Okay.
But it's not true. It's
It's
false.
the paternal side?
No, it's both sides. There's
Oh.
actually at least four different genes that are related to hair loss. And so you can't blame your mother, you can't blame your father, you can't blame the grandparents on one side or the other side. It's related to the whole family.
So you can't look at a grandparent on either side and say, wow, that they have a great head of hair, I hope my baby gets that hair, because you don't know for sure.
They might get it, they might not, but there's no guarantees.
Now, does it skip a generation? When you say grandfather, does that mean that the hair, it's not necessarily your parents, it's the grandparents that contribute to that?
So that's a really good question. The answer is there's no specific study on it, but there are thoughts that it can skip a generation. And so, yes, so you may see it more one generation later.
Well, since I don't know if we have any more questions, but this is a fun game. I'm enjoying playing it. But I would have a question that I would want to know if it's true or false. What percentage would you say half as many women to men have hair loss, or it's 100% equal? Or what would be a good ratio to say between male, because they call it male patterned baldness?
Yeah, I think postmenopausal, a large number of women will see some degree of hair loss. I would say greater than 70% will see some degree of hair loss within 2 years post-menopause due to hormonal changes.
Well, that's interesting that you brought up hormonal changes, because I had hair loss after giving birth to my second child. Not from my first son, but my second son. I had significant hair loss, and I was so upset by it. And the doctor said that is common after giving birth. I guess the baby, the embryo, takes a lot of the protein and the nutrients that feed the hair.
Yeah, those
and they
hormonal
suck
changes.
It up.
Yeah, they suck it up.
Sort of like that.
So basically what ends up happening from stress, whether it be the stress of childbirth or illness itself, there can be hair loss. And so it's called telogen effluvium is the technical term for it. And with that, there's hair loss that can occur from a life event.
Okay, that brings another question to mind, and that is, you mentioned stress. stress is a big factor in hair. People turn gray over stress. Is that true, that your hair color can change when you're under stress?
So hair, just like skin, has melanin in it. There's different kinds of melanin within hair to give the blonde or brunette or redhead their color. And so stress can change the type of melanin within the hair itself.
Well, it doesn't within the skin, though. I mean,
No.
even when you're stressed, your skin color doesn't change, but your hair loses its color
Your hair can lose its color
and also fall out from
and
stress.
fall out from stress as well.
Wow. So what do you suggest is a good way? Obviously, don't be stressed,
Yoga.
but we all have stress. Is that your solution to everything? Yoga. Do you do yoga?
I do not do yoga. I do other exercise, but I don't do yoga. I spin.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, here's another question, and this is not a medical question, but I just want your opinion on this. Do you agree that women of a certain age, whatever that age might be, should not have long hair? Because people sometimes say to me, you know, aren't you a little old to have long hair? And I personally like my long hair, but do you feel that there's an age limit, that when you get older you should have shorter hair?
I don't see why anybody would comment on someone's appearance like that. It's what makes the person happy, and if they feel good about themselves, it shouldn't be anybody else's
Yeah,
business.
'cause I always wondered who they are. They say that a hair transplant looks like little sticking up little roots, and it doesn't.
That's if it's not done
right.
correctly.
So the theys can sometimes give you some false information, which you know, can color your opinion. But you seem to be the expert on this, and just to tell you, I was on a Delta flight this weekend, and I was going through the Delta Flight magazine, and they were listing the best doctors and best surgeons, the best everything, and there you were,
There I am,
under
yeah.
the best for hair transplants. I was real
that's very
proud to
nice.
see your
Oh,
name there.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
we'll be back with some more information on how to make your hair grow thicker and more beautiful. We'll be right back.
Want to stay informed, entertained, and enlightened? Get connected and stay connected today to New Radio Media. The New Radio Media app is now available for download in the Apple and Google Play Store. Just search for NRM Streams for unlimited access to archived, live, new, exciting, and unique content,
Welcome to Geektainment Weekly.
all for free. Do it now. Stay connected.
And action.
And millions of ducks. The two guys go to newradiomedia.com.
The Arts and Entertainment Channel on New Radio Media .com.
What's going on in your neighborhood?
They say it takes a village.
It's the simple things.
The things that are a testament to the old.
The things that are a testament to the new.
Know what's going on in your community.
Check out our community channel on newradiomedia.com.
It's all about you, and that's the way we like it.
Where you're going.
What you do to stay fit.
What you're eating.
What you're thinking?
And how you're feeling. Join the conversation at newradiomedia.com's Lifestyles channel.
Stream the life you want to live.
We're back talking hair with Dr. Mark Berkowitz. And I think we have a slide, something to show you that's going to give you an idea, right, Doc?
Yes, so
What
we're
we're
going to
gonna
look
see?
at what hair really is. So hair, of course, is within the skin. It is actually part of the skin. And so before we were talking about what's alive in hair, and so it's the bulb that's the part that's alive. And that bulb is so important. So when we do a hair transplant, it's not that we're taking just a hair and moving a hair. If you do that, it's like taking a tulip bulb.
Right.
And so if you left the bulb behind and just took out the flower,
It would just die and fall
it's just going
right
to die.
out. Okay.
And so it's very important that the entire bulb is moved.
Okay,
And
so you're transplanting a plant in its entirety with all the roots.
and just like a plant, you have to be so careful with it, because if it's not treated well from the movement,
It will die?
It could go in shock.
Okay.
And so the bulb is precious.
Okay, now the follicle is around the bulb? Is
So
that
the
the bulb
follicle-
is inside?
Yeah, so the bulb is the bottom, and then you can think of the follicle almost as the stem
Okay.
coming out from it.
And what is the hair papilla? That's the bottom part that actually digs in and
That's
grows?
the root, if you will.
That's the root, okay.
That's the root. So like a tooth has a root,
Right,
and
exactly.
the blood supply is coming to that. So
It comes through the papilla, feeds the bulb.
feeds the bulb, and then into the hair follicle. And then, you say you're get cold or you have goosebumps. So the erector pili muscle that's up there, that muscle is actually surrounding the hair, and it can make the hair stand up.
So it pops up and gives you like the goosies.
The goosebumps and the hair
Okay,
standing on
okay.
edge. And so what we're seeing all the time is the hair shaft that's coming through the epidermis. And so the hair shaft is what we treat. We perm, we color, we comb, and really, if you take good care of the shaft, the hair will continue to grow nicely. It's when you harm the bulb,
Well,
or
then I have a question for
Go
you,
ahead.
not to interrupt your thought, but it made me think, are there certain hair processes, certain hair dyes or bleaches or perm solutions that actually can get in and damage that follicle or the bulb?
There are, and there are agents that can cause scarring on the scalp. And so if you get scarring within an area, that can cause a major problem, so the hair can't grow through it. It can kill the bulb as well. And so you
that
have
would
to be very
explain
careful
a
with
burn
products.
victim, somebody who has burns on their head where they have scar tissue, and that's why hair won't grow through the scar tissue?
That's correct, yeah. So people who have burns to the area, and then we'll talk about some diseases that can also cause not a burn necessarily in the area, but can stop the hair growth
Like
too, almost
alopecia.
like alopecia as
Right,
well.
So basically, if you use the wrong products and they go down into the follicle, into the bulb, that's why when women are over bleached, the hair kind of falls out, and you have to be careful.
You're creating a burn. You have to be
So-
very careful. So you have to look at these programs that are do-it-yourself and really make sure it's something that's an easy take-home product that's not going to be harmful. And when you go to the professionals, you're hoping that you're going to somebody that really knows these products well and not going to create a burn for you.
That's why it's important for everybody at home to pick your hairdresser as carefully as you would pick a doctor, a lawyer, anybody else, because your hair is literally in their hands, figuratively and literally, and you want to make sure that you use good products that are healthy. Look at the ingredients. I would think that's a big thing too. Look at the labels. Some things have a lot of alcohol and they're very drying to the hair.
So I'm laughing here because I say the opposite to my patients at times, because what I hear is they will look for their hair dye person, their colorist. They will look at their barber. They will look at their hairstylist, and they put more thought into that than the doctor who's injecting their face.
Is that a fact?
That, I'm telling you, it's a fact.
See, that's one I wouldn't have believed, because to me, well, they're both important. Your hair is important, but your face, I mean, if someone's putting needles and putting fillers and Botox, you'd want somebody who is a master, almost an artist. There's an art to where to place it. So with hair, too, I think you need to get to someone who knows hair.
Many people don't understand that, And so there are a lot of people who will buy a Groupon for,
Nothing against Groupons, but that's like shooting in the dark. You don't know what you're getting, really, do you?
Yeah, it's one thing for a restaurant, but you never want to discount your face.
Right, or go to a Botox or a filler party. Those are not good. Someone that comes to your house and puts in gasoline or whatever oil they use, not a good idea.
So let's take a look at some more reasons for hair loss. So genetics. So again, we spoke about mother, father, and their parents. And again, it's more than just what they call sexually related in regard to the XY gene. It has to do with something called autosomal, meaning basically it's related to all the different genes that are there, and there are multiple parts of the gene, so 4 different genes that can be affected or more to cause hair loss.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is that why you'll see in a family 2 brothers, for example, from the same mother and the same father? One has thick, beautiful, shiny hair, and the other one has kind of that thinner, more wispy hair. So is that part of the genetics?
Part of the genetics, just like one brother may have blue eyes, and then the 3 sisters all have brown eyes.
Or one's really tall and the other one's a little pygmy, and that's still the same family?
So it's all the mix of the genes.
Okay, so that's nothing we can control.
We can't control
that.
that.
That's just the way it goes. What else is...
Let's take a look. So as far as other reasons for hair loss, so thyroid disease, and this could be hyperthyroid or Graves' disease. That's where your thyroid's overacting.
But it can also be under?
It could be hypothyroid too, or your low thyroid level that causes hair to grow out. So either one, so you need your thyroid to be really what's called euthyroid, which means a normal level.
Okay.
Anemia, which is basically your blood, and if the blood levels are low, so you're having less oxygen come to your hair.
And also, isn't that less iron too?
Less iron can be related to it as well. So autoimmune diseases. An autoimmune disease is a disease where the body is fighting itself.
Like lupus, for example.
Like lupus.
A lot of lupus patients I know have hair loss problems, right? So that's a side effect of lupus. So I know that to be a fact.
That's correct. And so, and hormonal imbalances we spoke before, from cortisone levels to DHT that we can talk about more in a little bit as well.
Okay, so now we know what some of the diseases are that relate to hair loss.
So as far as the DHT, so hormones, everybody's heard of testosterone.
That's the male hormone.
That's right.
That's what makes you tough, right?
Women have it as well.
But less, right?
But less. But with testosterone, testosterone becomes something called DHT. And DHT will tell the hair in the area right here to miniaturize, to go to sleep.
Really?
And that's why hair loss in men, their pattern of baldness, is within the area over here. And what ends up happening is with those men, they will lose hair because of the fact that DHT is affecting the hair here. But it doesn't affect the hair here. That's why you can transplant that hair.
I see.
It doesn't affect the hair on their chest.
What about under your arms?
Under their arms?
In the genital area?
No.
Only that one section?
Only that one section.
How strange.
So you'll see a lot of men who are bald, and if they're on the beach, they're some of the hairiest men.
So you can have a full hairy chest. Maybe that's why you see some of these, now that you mention it, some of these men bald on the top with long ponytails. They have that long hair in the back because that hair grows and this hair doesn't. Interesting. Okay.
So other causes from braiding the hair, it's something called traction alopecia. That's actually where hair braids are so tight that they pull onto the hair, and there's scar tissue that develops from it.
From that constant pulling,
From that constant pulling. So if you're going to braid your daughter's hair, take it out at nighttime to relax the area, to allow blood flow. Don't leave rubber bands in the hair.
Now that's a good one, because rubber bands break the hair too. You want to get those softer scrunchies, correct? That don't damage the hair? Okay.
Turbans that are too tight can cause hair loss.
Now, is it also because is it black hair, air to the hair?
So I think it still will get enough air. So
It's just the tightness.
yeah,
Okay.
so even the caps, and so I've had football players, hockey players come to me for hair
wear-
transplants
who wear
are wearing
helmets a
the
lot.
helmets.
Got
And
it.
so, they swear it's the helmet that's
Well,
causing
what
it.
about Mideastern people that wear turbans all the time,
Yeah.
and the women that cover all the time?
And you'll see when they take off the turban, some of them have the longest flowing hair, so it's not
So
due
that's
to the fact that it's too tight,
Okay.
on them, but if you wear it too tight, it can cause a problem. And we spoke about that stress, the intelligent effluvium it should be, and there are many different medications. There's a list of medications that we look through when people come to see me to see whether it's causing problems for them.
We'll be right back to talk more hair.
Want to stay informed, entertained, and enlightened? Get connected and stay connected today to New Radio Media. The New Radio Media app is now available for download in the Apple and Google Play Store. Just search for NRM Streams for unlimited access to archived, live, new, exciting, and unique content,
Welcome to Geektainment Weekly.
all for free. Do it now. Stay connected.
And action.
And millions of ducks. The two guys go to newradiomedia.com.
The Arts and Entertainment Channel on New Radio Media .com.
What's going on in your neighborhood?
They say it takes a village.
It's the simple things.
The things that are a testament to the old.
The things that are a testament to the new.
Know what's going on in your community.
Check out our community channel on newradiomedia.com.
It's all about you, and that's the way we like it.
Where you're going.
What you do to stay fit.
What you're eating.
What you're thinking?
And how you're feeling. Join the conversation at newradiomedia.com's Lifestyles channel.
Stream the life you want to live.
We're back talking hair, and I think we have another slide to show you that's going to illustrate some of what we've been talking about.
So with men, this is a well-known scale. It's called the Norwood scale.
Okay.
So when men come in, I actually no longer use this scale because I can just tell by looking
Right,
at the
you've
men
memorized it
on
already.
hair transplants. But what we look at is their hair loss, and this is the normal male pattern baldness that we see. And what I'm looking at when I look at a man is, will a hair transplant be worthwhile for him? And what I mean by that is there could be hair loss to the point that if I were to move everything from their donor area, so they have that ring left, that collar of hair left, and I move everything to the top of their head,
Then they're going to have nothing in
then
the
they
back.
have nothing in the back. And
Okay.
by the way, I've seen that, and it doesn't look good.
Not a pretty picture.
It's
I have
not
seen
a pretty
that
picture.
too.
Yeah, and so we did a true and false earlier, and so it is just like the tulip bulb. When you move it from one area of your garden, the tulip, to the other, it doesn't grow in both places. Same thing with the hair. When I move that hair, it will only grow in the new place. Where it was removed from, there's no growth anymore. So you have a limited supply of hair to move.
And you have to have it somewhat long enough in the back to cover where you removed it.
Well, that's
right?
with the strip procedure. So in an upcoming episode, we'll talk more about that. But with the strip procedure, you need to be able to cover it. With the procedure that I perform, I remove one graft at a time, and so there's no scar line at all. There's no incision.
One graft at a time,
graft at
and
a
there's
time.
100,000 hairs on your head.
But we're not removing 100,000 at
I
a
know,
time.
but that's a lot of work. I mean, that's tedious
It is
work.
tedious. So we only do one person per day because of that.
Yeah, I can imagine. And again, I'm looking at the Norwood scale. Some men get where the front part here kind of stays, and it starts to recede on the two sides going back.
Correct.
That's a very typical, I think.
That is very typical.
That's the typical one. Now, some of them, the whole hairline itself just starts to go up high, but still staying somewhat straight
Correct.
across.
And there are some women that end up following this pattern, but that's rare.
Okay.
And so, somebody coming in who, let's say, is a 4A, so with him, we can still do a hair transplant and build that hairline up for him, but it's not going to be that afterwards he's going to look like a 1. The hope for somebody like a 4A is to build his expectations to maybe get him to like a 2A at a later time.
Okay, I see what you're saying
So it's
there.
important to understand, you can't necessarily walk away with a full head of hair from 1 or even 2 transplants, depending on where you're starting from, because of that limited amount of hair.
Now, do most men, and I know a lot of men watching are going to want to know this, does one transplant, for you guys that are wondering, solve it, or do you sometimes have to do 2?
So, depending upon the person, you can do 1, 2. People who have the strip method, there are people I've seen who have had 3, 4, and 5 strip procedures, because less grafts are taken each time than the procedure I perform. The procedure I perform, 2,500 grafts are taken. To give you an idea, that's around 2,500 grafts locked together. And
So that would fill in
that can fill
a
in like
crown.
the crown area, correct. But I
Okay.
call the crown, my name for it's the black hole.
Oh.
And I call it the black hole because I can put all 2,500 grafts into that area. Men will see a difference, but men always want more in the crown.
Yeah, no matter what you put in there, they want that thick, run your hands through hair. And not every man is meant to have thick, run your hands through it hair. So you want to do the best you can
Best
with
you
what
can.
you're capable of with your hairline.
Correct.
So
And-
some people have both, right? They recede here and the
Right.
black hole.
And so then we try to, have a choice. Do we go after the hairline first? Do we go after the crown first? My preference is always to build the hairline first for a man. Let him see the difference, create the illusion of more hair, and then if he wants us to build for him, we can then, look at a second transplant to build the crown at a later time.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because most of the time when you're looking at a person, you're looking straight on to that person. So you want to kind of get that picture of the fuller hair around the face.
That's right.
No one takes pictures of the back of their head. So that's the one that's sitting in front of you in the movie theater, and you don't want to say anything, but you're looking at his black hole. So, but that can be covered more
That can be
with a
that-
hat. But
there are ways
I
to
can
cover that.
see where it gets progressively worse. The higher the number, the more of a challenge for you. Is that correct?
It's a challenge, and also if a gentleman has unrealistic expectations, once the hairline lower than it should be for them, that could be problematic because if they don't do medical therapy, and we'll talk more about different medical therapies next, what can end up happening is they can get further hair loss, and then they end up with an island of hair up front, and that doesn't look very nice.
I saw that the other day. The man had hair in the front, low hair in the front, but then from here back it was very, very thin. So that's what he did. He filled in the front, right?
Right.
And he made it too low, and he used up a lot of hair in the front, and then it started falling out behind where he put it in.
Correct.
It didn't look pretty.
Doesn't look good.
It did not look good.
Doesn't look
Okay.
good. So let's look at the ladies. So on the next slide, we're going to look at a different scale. It's called the Ludwig scale. And this is more typical for women, is the diffuse hair loss from front to back. Many women will end up keeping a tuft of hair in the front,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden, start to get lost. And this is more of a challenge for a hair transplant. So when I'm doing a hair transplant for a woman, what I'm trying to do is to build up that frontal hairline to create the illusion of more hair for them, and then through medical therapy, build up the hair behind. So
So that way a woman can wear a hairdo where it goes back, and the front part that you put in can sort of cover the thinner parts.
Correct.
So that becomes a real trick for her to work with her hairdresser and how to correct that. I have another question. What do you think about the comb over? The look that, there's two ways that I see it. The one comb over is the traditional 3 long strands, or as many as they can get, to kind of go sideways to cover that part that's gone, or the front. They comb it all the way to the front and try to get like little bangs or something sticking up in the front. Neither one is the most successful look, right?
They're not successful. Many people look at our president, and one of the things they talk about is his hair. And so for him, he has a comb over. He probably more than likely had a scalp reduction treatment as well to try to help that comb over too. But the comb over doesn't work. So there are videos of our president, and
when the
you can
wind
see the wind hit
him,
him. Yeah.
Yes, that's the problem with those comb overs. Whether it's back to front or side to side, you get into the wind or you're out on a boat.
Yeah. So if it makes them comfortable, that's fine. But they're not necessarily fooling anybody else.
And then they're putting on more product, like more hairspray.
Yeah. So usually
and more
it becomes
gel,
hard.
And it looks like a shell like or a
in that
helmet head. So that's why
very,
they
very
come
few
to
people
you.
can swear. I've actually, in 20 years of doing cosmetic work, I've seen one person's comb over that was excellent, but only one.
Yeah, I don't know. I've probably not seen that one because most of them are not as effective as having hair, which makes me wonder about your opinion on toupees and hair pieces. What's your thought on those?
So again, the majority of hair pieces, you can see where the real hair starts and where the new hair toupee, the fake hair, is placed. And usually you can notice it more from the back.
Yes, because the wig or the toupee will come down to a certain point and then kind of stick out a little bit, and it's a slightly different color and texture than the person's own hair. So it really doesn't blend all that well, and that's where you can see it.
And there are some excellent stylists that can help with that. But if you really want it to look good, you probably have to go to that stylist once a week. And as I said before, they charge around $300 per visit to work with the hair system. So it would really become cost prohibitive. So most men that have had these hair systems go around once a month. So when they come out from the hairstylist, I think they look great. That can last a day.
Yeah.
If they're lucky, a week, but usually not past that.
Okay, what about alopecia? You did bring that up before, but we didn't go into in depth what the alopecia is, because that can cause hair loss not just on your head, but your eyebrows, your eyelashes, all body hair, correct?
Right. So there's different types of alopecia. I think we have a slide in regard to that, but alopecia basically is autoimmune disease as well. It's the body fighting itself again. And so with alopecia, you can have hair loss, and with the hair loss, so if you have alopecia areata is hair loss in spots. So you may just have a clump of hair that you've lost. Then there's alopecia totalis and universalis. So totalis is total scalp that's lost.
That makes sense.
And universalis is everywhere. So people lose their eyebrows, they lose their lashes, body hair as well. And why it happens for one person and not another is truly not known. And some people can end up getting hair back, and others never get back.
So it is reversible?
Not for most. In areata, we see it more often. There's a new procedure that I'm doing called All Me that I'll show later on.
Okay.
And that All Me procedure, there's potential to have hair growth in all matters, but we've even used it on patients with alopecia. I've also used it on patients that had pediatric cancers that their hair didn't grow back, that we've grown hair for them.
Is there any kind of laser treatments or any kind of light treatments or stimulus that can regenerate?
So I'm going to show you a cap that I actually wear myself.
Okay.
And so this cap has 300 diode lasers within it.
Okay.
The beauty of it is it's easy to use. So it only takes 6 minutes to use.
How often?
So 6 minutes a night. So,
Okay.
so what I tell men and women to do, and the studies were actually built upon women, but I use the cap myself, it shows an increase in density of each single hair. And with the cap, what I do is I wear it watching TV or sitting by the computer. Because it's easy to do, people will do it and they're compliant. And compliance is the most important part of all the medical therapy. Because if something becomes difficult to do, people just put it aside. And the only time I forget with the cap is if my wife puts it away, and because I left it on the couch.
So it's a habit. Like you get up, you brush your teeth, and you take your medications, and at night you take a little bit of time, you put on your cap. It's like your thinking cap, only it's your hair cap.
That's my hair cap.
And you wake up and hopefully you'll have a few more little sprouts in there. We'll be back to talk more about hair regrowth, transplant, and the conditions that cause hair loss. We'll be right back.
Tarno knows doors. We've got garage doors, entry doors, storm doors, custom doors. Tarno knows doors.
Plus, the latest LiftMaster garage door openers and the toughest retractable screens on the market, all by the push of a button. Tarno Doors is celebrating its 50th year anniversary and is the recipient of the 2016 Subcontractor of the Year from the Home Builders Association.
Tarno knows doors. Tarno knows doors.
Advertising your business these days can be challenging. Traditional radio and TV ads are expensive and, frankly, a bit of a crapshoot. Not to mention, the audience for over-the-air material is shrinking as more and more of us demand to see and hear what we want, when we want. Advertising on new radio media is a solution. With our live streaming programs that are also available on demand, your message is always ready when your customers are ready to watch and listen, all for a fraction of what you'd likely have been paying for other ads. NewRadioMedia.com. Call Buzz Van Houten at 248-939-9999 for more information.
Hey, you guys, it's Raphael of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Guess what? The only thing we can get down here in the sewer is Geektainment Weekly on New Radio Media. Turtle Power!
Maple Lane Golf Club is a 54-hole golfing treasure located in the heart of Sterling Heights. Maple Lane Golf Club offers immaculate greens, a top-flight pro shop, and inexpensive green fees. For convenience, book your tee time online at maplelanegolf.com. Come out and enjoy a great golf experience. Try our 9 and Dine special, 9 holes of golf, and enjoy food and refreshments in the Clubhouse Bistro. That's Maple Lane Golf Club in Sterling Heights. Check us out at maplelanegolf.com.
Back, look at the doc. He's wearing his hat.
I'm going to grow hair as long as I've got time.
Okay,
So-
you have your hat covered with a baseball cap, right?
Right. So this cap, first of all, it doesn't fit like a baseball cap, so you wouldn't necessarily go to a Tigers game wearing it.
Yeah, no, because it has to also be plugged in,
Well,
right?
it's actually
It's
a
got its
separate
own-
charger and has its own plug. You just
So
charge
you
this
can
once
do
a
it while
week.
you're, if
you
you
can do
have
it
a
when
long
you're driving.
drive.
But
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know if everybody can see the red light that comes out. So
Yeah,
there's
a
a red
little
light.
bit.
So at nighttime it may show a little bit more. The thing with the cap too is as soon as you take it off, the light goes off. So it knows, so that it's not
okay.
going to shine in somebody's
So that's
eyes.
all one piece?
Well, you can take this cap off if you want to put a Tiger's cap on top of it.
That's
You
what
can.
I'm saying. So the cap part is interchangeable with the bottom part.
Correct. And so it's just 6 minutes a day. And what it does is it brings blood flow to the scalp. And by bringing blood flow to the scalp, helps with the hair growth. So it increases the density of the hair. There's some thought that it actually may turn on a gene for hair growth, but that's not been proven. Now the difficult part with this is there are some caps that are out there that are not the same as this cap. So this cap is made by a company called Capitalist. Capitalist makes a few different caps. I'm going to tell you right now, even though they're a great company, there's only one professional cap. It's the only one that's been proven. The other caps that have less lights, like you can buy in Costco,
So that's the best one.
Yeah, the other ones do not have the same energy levels, and so they're not going to grow hair to the same degree as this cap would.
Okay, people I know are wondering, because I can feel them in their mind saying, how much does that cost?
So, the cost of the cap is $3,000.
$3,000?
But a few things. Number one, it's solid state. It's going to last decades. Both the
Okay.
company and I stand behind it. So if there's something that ever goes wrong with the cap, bring it back. We'll exchange it. If you look at the fact that it's solid state and that it works, it's something that you're going to probably be using for 3, 5, 10 years plus. If your spouse wants to use it, it's something you can share.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
So it's something that's definitely worthwhile.
So you could actually split it with a friend, and you use it one night.
Well,
and
maybe
then
your
let-
wife. I don't know about your friend. But
Yeah, maybe you're right about a friend. But I was just thinking, well, you use it from 7 to 8, and then I'll pop next door and get it from 8 to 9. So how much hair regrowth can you expect with a cap like that?
What you're going to see is an increase in density of hair. And so each individual hair over time can miniaturize, and this is going to increase the density, and it can be greater than 50% the density of each particular hair. If you think about, again, if you had 100,000, you now have 50,000, and you're increasing the density of
So you're
each
getting
one.
50,000 fat hairs.
Yeah. So
that's
that creates
gonna-
the illusion of more hair.
So if you use that in combination with a hair transplant, does it keep the surrounding hair from falling out as
Correct.
quickly as it might?
It not only helps with the surrounding hair, but helps with the hair that we've implanted, giving it the blood supply.
Now
Plus,
it's going to be thicker.
it helps your scalp to heal after the procedure as well.
So it's a good thing to have whether you've had the transplant or whether you're pre-transplant or even post-transplant. It's still a good little thing. People should put that on their Christmas list, their wish list. And do you sell those?
So we have them at both our West Bloomfield as well as our Sterling Heights location.
Good. So that's important to know. Don't buy one online. Don't go to Costco. Don't go to, where else do they sell them? I don't even know. But go straight to your doctor and get them. Now let's talk about some of the other things that we kind of touched on earlier, like the little spray fiber that you can, the different sprays.
So there's a spray, and then there's also these fibers. So these fibers basically you shake on, comb into your hair, and what they do is they cover the hair, they cover the scalp, and they give the illusion of more hair. So most people don't realize hair actually has an energy level to it. So it's ionized. And so that's why when you're using conditioner, that conditioner is the opposite charge of your hair, and that's why it sticks to the hair and helps to condition hair. Well, same thing here. So it sticks to the scalp, sticks to the hair as well, and creates the illusion of more hair.
And that cost how much for that?
Under, $30.
Okay.
But again, be very careful, because there are some brands that are made in foreign countries where you can get arsenic in it.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
So you
Okay.
have to be careful where you're purchasing it from.
Arsenic in it. All right, my other question on that is, when you sweat or go in the water, things, does it wash off?
It doesn't wash off easily. No.
Okay, so
No,
it'll
and
be
there's
there
a
for a
spray,
while.
There's a setting spray you can use as well.
Okay, so you put it on, then you can spray it to stay, and you're good for, how long does that last?
So this can last all day, and then until you shower and
Or if you're
take it
going
off.
someplace at night and you want to look especially good, you might want to use that. So what else do you have that's good for hair?
A few things. So number one, I like the combination of Rogaine and a medicine you may have heard of called Propecia.
Absolutely. You know, men and women take that, correct?
So women and men both take Rogaine. Propecia is something I only place men on.
Okay, is there a
If they're
reason for that?
Well, with hormones, it's a hormone that you're giving, and with chance of breast cancer, it's something that
Probably
I will
stay
not-
away
right.
from that for women.
It's something
okay.
that's possible postmenopausal, but never premenopause to
Good
use.
to know.
And the way it works is Propecia blocks, remember we spoke about testosterone, which becomes DHT? It blocks DHT. And by blocking DHT, you can get hair growth. And Rogaine increases blood flow. So they work in two different actions.
So
and
it's
help
like
to grow hair.
Viagra for hair?
Like Viagra for hair.
Oh,
There you go.
see? That's a simple explanation. How much does that cost? Because people want to know how
So-
much these products are.
So Rogaine itself will run under $50 a month. We have a special formulation that we use that it's a prescription that limits the amount of inflammation that can occur with Rogaine. And then as far as Propecia, that's a prescription, and it actually runs around $1 a pill or less.
So those are pills. Is Rogaine a topical? You
Rogaine's a
apply,
topical.
It's not a pill.
Correct. You put it on like a roll-on and you drip it on.
Okay, and what's up in the front there? You have another...
So there's different vitamins. So there's this company, Nutrafol, that makes a fantastic vitamin that blocks DHT. It's actually multiple homeopathic remedy. So there's multiple parts to it that help to block DHT. There's one for men and then one for women, because women, the problem is not DHT. And then this product is a biotin. Biotin is vitamin B, but also people call it vitamin H for vitamin hair.
Okay.
And that's a special Viviscal product that can be used.
Wow, we learned so much tonight about hair, and I hope you got some answers, some falses and some truths to questions that you might have had. We'll be back to talk more hair with the doc next time. Thanks so much, and remember, stay beautiful.